Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and this is a video I'm really excited to make. This is different than a lot of my other content, but it's one that I very much wanted to do, but it's a little bit outside the box, and I wasn't sure. So I posted to Facebook and asked people's opinions, and overwhelmingly everyone said they would like to see it. More important than that, I got a lot of direct messages from people saying, yes, please make this video. So before I begin, if you enjoy my content, please click the subscribe button down below. That's what tells YouTube that this is good content they should put in front of other people when they search for disc golf stuff. But also, if you enjoy my videos, the best thing you can do to support me is share them to your social media. That's how I get exposed to new people more than anything. All right, so this video is going to be about dealing with fear and anxiety. But right off the bat, none of this is going to be about fear and anxiety on the course. Those are entirely separate topics. First hole jitters and getting nervous while putting, the yips. I've made other videos about that. I'm sure I'll make more. But this isn't about that. This is about the big picture. Making this big, huge life decision to go out on tour and the fear and anxiety that came with that, and of course, how I deal with it. And as by the way, warning, this is just going to be a me talking video. So if you were looking for throws or things like that, uh, then, you know, just subscribe and watch the next one. I'm just going to be doing a TED talk by a lake or something like that. So I have an agenda for making this video. And that agenda is one of the things that hurts me the most is when my friends and people I care about talk about the things they want to do in life, their ideas, a lot of times business ideas, but their plans, their dreams, their goals, the things they want to accomplish in life. And then I watch them not do those things. Now, that is not the same as watching my friends try to do things they want to do and fail. And we'll talk about this later, but that's not a big deal. I got no problem with that whatsoever. You know, I stole this from somebody, but it's true. But one of the reasons why I've been so successful at so many things is because I have failed more than any other person I know. Failing's not a big deal. Not trying is a huge deal, and nothing hurts me more than to see people not go after the things they want to go after. If there's legitimate reasons for it, totally fine with that. But fear and anxiety by themselves are not legitimate reasons for not accomplishing things. And that's what I want to talk about. Now, I'm going to talk about specifically to my decision to go on tour, but my hope is that maybe there's something here that you can take and apply to other aspects of life, whether it's starting a business or quitting your job to pursue a new career or moving to a new town or going back to college or you going out on tour. But I hope that there's more here than just my story of going on tour. That's my goal. So here's how the process works for me, and I'll be speaking directly as it relates to fear and anxiety. Back in April, I decided I was going to go on tour. And I was excited, or I decided I wanted to. I explored that. I've made other videos, but I basically came to the conclusion that I wanted to go on tour. And if I'm going to go out on tour, one of the things that I can do besides just competing is I'm going to build up my brand, I'm going to build up my business, and I'm going to further position myself in my career to be able to, survive later in life off this thing. It's not just about having fun, it's also my business. I've been I had a little successful niche out here doing the teaching and the seminars and competing in tournaments and doing that, but I was going to be going bigger. And when I decided to do that, I immediately felt fear. I was scared, and I felt a lot of anxiety. And I think both those are natural feelings. What I want to talk about is well, how I deal with those and how those aren't barriers to me actually doing this thing I came up with. So the first thing I always do, and the first thing I did, was I take the fear and anxiety and I set them to the side. Now, I can't make them just go away. I mean, if you've ever felt anxiety, you can't just turn it off. At least, at least I've never heard of a way of doing that. I set them to the side because what I would like to do to the best of my ability is to make rational and objective decisions about this idea that I have. What's it going to look like? What's it going to take? And fear and anxiety are both barriers to making rational decisions. And one of the things I found is I can't make the fear and anxiety go away. But if I tell myself that, okay, guys, just sit over here. I'm coming back to you. Don't worry. I'm not forgetting about you. I know you're there. The fear and anxiety almost give me permission to think rationally. As long as I acknowledge that, it's the elephant in the room, I'm going to come back to it. If I try to make them go away, they just haunt me. So I set those to the side and I start thinking about what I'm going to do. And if I was to go out on tour and just sign up for tournaments and play, like I could almost sneak in under the radar there. I'm really not going to feel scared or anxious about anything related to that. If it was my first year on tour, I would, right? But I've been doing this my whole life. That's not a big deal. But I wanted to do more than that. Number one, I wanted to tell a story. And that story was going to be, an 18-month saga of the process of getting back into shape and going out on tour and pursuing the dream and taking one last shot at glory. And however that unfolds, I wanted to tell a story. But as soon as I decided to tell the story, that meant I was going to be very public about this. Everyone's going to watch me. And the second thing I wanted to do that made this a bigger challenge than just going out and playing is I said, I can do a lot for my business and my brand by doing this. Like I've built out a successful niche over here. Like here's the tour. Here's the massive world of disc golf over here, and I'm out here as a little outlier by myself. Doing pretty darn well for myself. But if I take this thing I'm doing here and bring it over to the big tour over here, I'm going to get 10 times the exposure. I'm going to be able to build my brand like nothing else. But again, if I do that, I got to be out in front of everybody. I'm going to be under the microscope when I do this thing. And that's where the fear started. Well, fear and anxiety. So I'll start talking about the fear. So I've decided what I want to do. I want to have sponsors. I want to be doing my special needs classes. I want to win on the pro tour. And I'm scared. So the first thing I always do is I look at, well, what am I afraid of? Like if you can't identify your fear, you can't do anything about it. You got to know why you're scared. And that involves, a lot of thinking, talking to Adriana, but exploring myself and figuring out what am I afraid of. And, really it comes down to a fear of failure. I think that's usually the fear that is most people's barriers when it comes to fear, and I'm no different. But what I always do, and what has served me really well when dealing with the fear of failure, is then I take the next step and say, well, what if I do fail? What does failure look like? And for me, failure would look like not winning tournaments or not making top tens. Like I'm not too afraid of not cashing, but potentially not cashing it by a handful of tournaments, maybe a lot of tournaments. I don't know, but that's what failure is going to look like. Well, what are the ramifications of that failure? Are people going to make fun of me? No. Are people going to laugh at me in social media? No. It's not like some 80s movie where, you have all these tropes where the people are laughing. I knew you couldn't do it all along. You were foolish for trying. Like no one says stuff like that. Not among my people anyway. So I'm not really worried about any negative fallout because I know if I give it my best and I don't score well enough, that everyone's going to have my back. So really there's nothing to be afraid of there. And again, that's this specific situation, but in a bigger picture, it's always, well, what does failure look like? If you want to start a business and you have to mortgage your house, and if the business goes under, you lose the house. Well, yeah, it's pretty important to understand that in that case, failure looks like losing your home. It's a pretty big part of the decision. But most of the time, from what I've observed, it's not that. The fear of failure is a fear of unknown and uncertainty of what's going to happen when you fail. And usually if you dig into it, it turns out it's not that bad. Or maybe it stings a little bit, but Put on your big boy or big girl pants, you'll get over it. So I didn't really have so much a fear of failure, but and by the way, as soon as I really dug into it, that fear kind of went away. Incidentally, the fear came back in the last couple of weeks, which I'm going to get to. It's very interesting. I was surprised a bit, but the fear wasn't an issue. Now, anxiety, on the other hand, is I can't swear on here. It's an MF. Anxiety sucks, and the biggest part of the anxiety to me was the feeling of being overwhelmed, because I didn't just want to go out on tour. I wanted to get a whole bunch of sponsors. I knew the 16 discs I wanted to throw. I needed to approach and land 10 disc sponsors. In addition to disc sponsors, I wanted to have shirts. I wanted to have jerseys made. I needed a clothing sponsor. I was contacted by an amino acids company that wanted to sponsor me in my training. By the way, I needed to get my body in shape. I needed to do that. I needed to set my schedule. I'm going to do special needs classes at every one of these events. That's a lot of classes to set up, and I'm talking faster on purpose because after I set up the special needs events, I got to contact the organizations because I'm going to be donating my money to them, and then I got to post videos about it. Then I got to go put content, live stream, mic'd up rounds, blah, 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 kablam. And that's where the anxiety comes from. There's so much, it just seems too big. And I think that, honestly, from what I've seen, I think that it's not the fear of failure as much as a barrier for people as I think it's the anxiety of feeling overwhelmed when doing something big. I think like if I had a hypothetical friend that was, always made the best fish tacos, everyone knows their fish tacos are awesome. So they want to open a fish taco restaurant. So they talk about, I'm going to open a fish taco restaurant. Well, I don't know what the fear of failure is what stops them from doing it. It's not like they're thinking, oh God, what if people don't like my fish tacos? No, everyone loves your fish tacos. And we all think we're going to succeed usually at some level. I think the barrier that people find, and I know I said I mostly talk about myself, but this is relevant. I think that the barrier is when the person said, cool, I want to open a fish taco restaurant. Cool, now all I got to do is get a loan. And I got to find a building. I got to buy the equipment. I got to read a book on how to manage a restaurant. I got to hire a staff. I'm going to need insurance. I'm going to have to do marketing. I'm going to have to get a supplier. I'm going to have to blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, this is too big. Opening fish taco restaurants is for other people. And they're overwhelmed. And that's at least my observation. That's what I see is what stops people more often than any other thing. Because anxiety sucks. Anxiety is real. So what I do, and none of this is an original idea, but first I took pen to paper. Kids these days will put fingers to their notes app on their phone, but I'm old, so I took pen to paper and I outlined all these different things, what they look like. Well, what does getting in shape look like? What are the steps necessary? And I put them all down. What does sponsors look like? Well, what disc companies do I want to contact? I put them all down. What are the steps in getting Tour Series discs made? Well, I need to do artwork. I need to do this. I need to order. I need a distributor. I need a warehouse. I need a shipping. I need a website, right? A lot of stuff. I got to contact all these special needs organizations. I got to put out all this content. I need all these different ideas for videos to make. It's a lot of stuff. And on paper, or multiple sheets of paper, was a roadmap over the next, 9 or 10 months. This is what I need to do to accomplish this end goal of how I see this tour going in my performance, my brand, the money I'm making from whatever business I'm doing. And when I look at this whole list of things and I hold that paper or multiple papers out here and I look at all of it, it doesn't do a damn thing for my anxiety. I'm still completely overwhelmed looking at all these different steps. But there's two things. And if I remember these two things, this is how the anxiety gets dealt with. The first is I have trust that I built a pretty good roadmap. That if I do these steps, this step, this step, this step, eventually it's going to wind up here where I want it to. So I have confidence that the path, if I accomplish all those, will get me there. It's kind of like if you're going to go hike up to the top of a tall mountain and the mountain looks so far away. but you know there's a trail going to the top of the mountain. You're confident the trail leads to the peak. Well, if you're confident that the trail leads to the peak and you look down and you step with your right foot and you step with your left foot and then your right foot and you go up the trail, you have faith and confidence that that will end up on top of the mountain. So you have to believe in the trail. So you have to believe in the roadmap. I have to believe in the roadmap that I built. And the second thing I have to believe in, and this one can be hard, but I have to believe that, well, I know that the roadmap is going to have speed bumps in it, and I know there's going to be things that come up, but I have to believe that I'll be able to handle those. I have these 10 sponsors I want to contact. What if one of them says no? Well, I believe that if they say no, that I can find someone else that makes a disc similar to the one I wanted to throw and contact them. So the roadmap is a guideline, but it's going to change throughout. But I trust in my ability to make those adjustments and adapt to it. And then, since I trust the map and I trust my ability to adapt, then I take those papers and I pull them in right here. And I pull them all the way up in front of me until I can only see one thing. And all I see is the next thing that has to be done. I don't have to call 10 sponsors. I have to call one. Get a hold of Anders at Costoplast. When I've done that, then I scroll down. Oh, I got to call Dave McCormick at Gateway. I got to call Doug Bierkus at Dynamic. But again, one thing at a time. I need to find a special needs organization that I'll be donating my money to at every single event. Well, I don't have to contact every special needs organization. I only need to contact the one before Vegas. That's next. And taking small bites is my way, and I think it's a common way of dealing with the anxiety of doing something big. Trusting the little things will get you there. Attack the little things one at a time. And by the way, every time I pull out and look at that paper, it scares the shit out of me. So I just pull it back in real quick. Focus on the next thing. It's the only way that I can do it. But that is how this project seemed doable to me. And once I had a roadmap and I knew that the fears were not based on anything real, not that they're not real, but that the consequences weren't dire, then I could start doing one thing at a time and knocking them out. And that's what the last, I don't know, whatever, 8, 9, however many months have been a series of checking off thing after thing after thing after thing. And now I'm in a position, I'm a couple weeks away, and I got almost everything lined up. I got things in warehouses ready to ship. I've got a list of content that I need to shoot. I've got all my ideas. I got the equipment to mic up my practice rounds. My body's in good shape. Like I've done all this, but I did it one itty bitty thing at a time. And again, specifically because that's how I deal with the anxiety. So you think everything's smooth sailing at this point, right? I got a roadmap. Everything's going easy. Except the last, I don't know, week or two, I started feeling scared again. The tour is getting closer and I'm getting nervous. It's not anxiety. I'm not afraid of accomplishing the big picture. I've already accomplished all these things, but I was scared. And it's real interesting because I was trying to figure out why am I nervous because the tour is getting close? Well, I mean, obviously that's why, but am I nervous about competing? No, I've been doing this my whole life. Am I worried about losing? No, I've played several hundred tournaments and I've lost 2 out of every 30 tournaments I've ever played. I've lost more than half the tournaments I've played. Losing's not a big deal. So what am I afraid of? And this is real interesting. And by the way, if you don't want to hear me get really deep here and real heavy stuff, click away because this is going to be totally not disc golf related, kind of. But it is where the fear is coming from. By the way, if you're older, don't click away because you probably can relate to it. But let me start by saying I have a pathological fear of getting old. I think getting old is like the single worst thing in the entire world. Like I'm happier now than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I got everything I've ever wanted. Like it's here in my world and everything's going so fantastic and I would trade everything to be 20. I don't want to get old. I don't want to die. I don't. And a lot of the way I've lived my life is an avoidance of getting old. I posted videos before I was out on the road traveling, before this recent year and a half thing we've been dealing with, of me doing pro wrestling shows and taking metal chair shots to my head. Like, why would a 50-year-old take a metal chair shot to his head? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because 50-year-olds don't do that. 20-year-olds do. And when they say, you don't got to take bumps, you don't got to take the chair shot, I'm like, yes, I do. I'm not 50. I didn't want to get old. I still don't. And my life has been about not letting my age stop me from doing anything. And so far, it's worked pretty well because I'm not real old. I can still do most everything, even if it's slower. But it's a non-acceptance of the aging process, is to the best of my ability. Part of this has come with a fantastic delusion that I have, that I've had for the past 22 years. And that delusion has been, well, actually, I don't know it's a delusion. We'll find out. But what is possibly a delusion is I have felt like if I really put the time and effort into competing, I could still compete at the highest level. Ask me for 23 years if I believe that, and my answer is 100% yes. I truly believe that if I did the work, I could compete at the highest level. Ah, you're 50 years old. You're 52 years old now. I don't care. Before I decided to go on tour, I'm allowed to believe that. Whether it's true or not, it hasn't been tested. So I can keep with my delusion and I can feel like a young man. And the thing I think that's been scaring me is that everything's been going perfectly. My training's going perfectly. I have no injuries. When I got my body in shape, I could get the reps in I was hoping I could get. I said I needed this many reps to be able to compete. Well, guess what? My body's working. I'm getting the reps in. And I don't have any excuses. Like if I can't go out there and compete and compete at a high level, not every weekend, I'm reasonable, but if I can't put it together on an occasional weekend and compete with the best in the world, I will have no choice but to accept the fact that I'm not good enough. And believe it or not, that's a hard pill to swallow, because if I don't go on tour, I can believe that I would be had I done these things. um, by the way, I'm not going to feel bad about myself. I'm 52 years old. But I think I will have to accept the fact that I'm 52 years old, at least on the disc golf course. And I started realizing that's actually scary to me. So it's not like if I don't play well this year, well, I just need to train for another year or two, and when I'm 54, I'm going to go out and compete. No, it's going to mean it's truly passed me by. My time had come, and it's gone. And I'll have to come to terms with that. Is that enough to make me not want to do it? No. I really, truly want to know. One of the things I'll get by playing well is I will get to keep I'll get to keep the delusion a little bit longer. And I'll have evidence to back me up. Oh my God, try telling me I'm not good enough if I have even just a few, you know, lead cards. I'll be feeling like I still got it. I still have it on a given day. So anyways, yeah, I've realized I'm getting scared because I'm having to face something bigger than just not playing well at the tournament. It will be an acceptance of something I don't want to accept. And it's interesting. That's not something that I foresaw. I would have even told you was on my radar a couple weeks ago, but I just got into Las Vegas, and as soon as I did, I felt this thing in the pit of my stomach, and I went, oh, Jesus, this thing's actually happening. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm nervous, not so anxious, scared, not for the competition part, but at what this whole thing's going to tell me about myself. That's about the only fear I really have right now, but it's real. It's there. I hope from this, I talked a lot. I hope the biggest thing people take from this video is to, when you have fear and anxiety over doing something big in life, if it's something you want to do, or you know it's going to make you happy, or you know it's good for you, or you know it's going to move your life forward, but something's holding you back, the first thing you got to do is look at what you're scared of and look at what failure looks like. And if failure isn't catastrophic, think understanding that allows you to push past it. And then when it comes to anxiety, is to break big things into small things. It's the single best way to accomplish something big. Start at the end, work your way backwards, and realize this first little thing here is what I need to do first. And don't look at the big picture. And that's the way I've found, anyways, to get through the anxiety. And I hope some people watching this do big things. Nothing would make me happier. All right, the next video I make, I'm going to be showing you how to throw 50 feet farther. In fact, I even know, actually, it probably will be that one. I have a video on throwing farther. So stick around for the next one, click subscribe, and we'll get back to the throwing stuff. I promise. But thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.